Irish eyes are smiling. The world seems bright and gay. Oh, when Irish eyes are smiling. Oh, oh, hello there. Hello, everyone. It's me. It's old Irish Joe, your president. And you know, I just wanted to say that to my fellow Americans that even though people are saying that America is racist, but it's not. It's just full of racists. Like Ireland. Ireland used to be full of snakes. Well, look here, Jack. I pledge to you that I will drive these foul racists right out of good old America, just like me own great-grandpappy, old St. Patty himself, drove all those foul snakes out of beautiful potato-covered Ireland. God, St. Patrick could drive some snakes. You know, Jack, my old Aunt Gertie used to say that the greatest gift was the ability to forget all the bad things from the past, like those nasty Japanese internment camps, and focus on the good things, like our shiny new internment camps for criminal Mexican babies. But it's true. Racism, it was very bad when I was a boy. They used to call me Little Mick and Little Dick Mick and Little Potato Fucker. It was terrible. They even said they were going to start eating Irish babies, called us little potato sprouts, said they were going to grow us in a garden. It's true. It all happened. Hey, let go of me. Old Irish Joe is not the...
Joe, come on.
Old Irish Joe has
get up,
fables
you're
and
running around
stories to spin. He has to tell the tale of how racist they used to be
Nah,
to the
nah.
Irish.
You're cranky when you haven't had your white boob.
I really would like some of that. Suppose I...
Oh, we know you do.
Wow.
Come on, Uncle Joe. It's time for the adrenochrome.
Ah, Uncle Joe needs his juice. He needs that sweet Mexican criminal baby juice. Where is it? Oh, it lead me off.
Wow.
Delicious.
So you guys tracked down the president of the United States for that purpose.
I mean, you know,
what we got.
he wasn't doing anything else.
Well, all right. If I give you that, you
That's why they don't put them on camera.
I want to rephrase this for just a moment. You spent $50 million of the company budget to track down Joe Biden just for that.
I had
He's a
heard
social construct, sir. So really, you know, you could just say we didn't spend anything.
It's just a lot of meetings, really.
I had heard that he was working on his Irish accent to play up his gritty Irish backstory, and I think that his Irish accent was excellent. So I feel like it was worth it.
Well, whether or not we compliment Joe Biden on his excellent Irish accent is kind of irrelevant. I just want a clear yes or no question as the only person who is an employee of this podcast, right? Because the rest of you are independent contractors and interns. I want a clear yes or no here.
I'm an abstract concept.
That's true.
Yes,
an
Prop
abstract-
69 passed. Yes, the
Yeah.
Podcasting Independent Contractor Act. Yes.
Yes. So I want a clear yes or no. My next question: did you or did you not decide to and then spend $50 million of the company money on getting Joe Biden to do that for a solid minute and a half?
Well, we recorded it as an NFT, and we're gonna.
I asked a clear did you or did you not question. I would like
Yeah,
to
but the Soros checks, you know how...
just yes or no will do.
Okay, yes,
Okay,
but
guys,
I do not acknowledge that
Guys?
statement.
guys, that was the best expenditure of company money ever. And I'm very proud of you all for making such a fine financial decision. Thank you.
we could have him back on after he's finished his adrenochrome. We got him
Yeah.
the pure shit.
Well,
He's just wandering down the hall sniffing people.
let's maybe give it till next week's episode after St. Patty's Day has passed, and then we can kind of just work the bit in again, perhaps. we got to earn the $50 million back. You know, through what
Oh, he's got aviators now. Oh boy.
Oh fuck! It's on now.
All right. So, I guess really, how I feel about that, again, as the only employee, is that this is the Sons of Trier live stream and podcast, and I'm your host with the least, the Jewish feast, the beast from the east, the Heeb who's a dweeb. See, I get some racism in there too, so I decided to spice it up. And I'm Dan Cohen. I'm joined by John Sinclair,
The human yarmulke clip.
the one who doesn't drip. I'm joined by EattheRich.
Legion of Doom reporting in.
and not a bitch. That I checked.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Definitely none of that bitch shit over here. And
None of that.
I'm joined by Cenk Engels.
Hello again.
That's it. You're
Still
not gonna-
present. Yep,
not-
that's the whole thing.
You're not gonna give me a
That's
chance to
that's
rhyme
all
it?
you're getting out of me.
You're not giving me a chance to rhyme it.
Nope. We spent $50 million.
Yeah.
What more did you want from
And
me?
you-
I'm doing my job. I'm spending capital.
Mm. And I'm joined by the true whore.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Internet,
Not too bad.
ladies,
I'm so glad
gentlemen,
you decided.
all the other kinds of people, all of the various people on the internets. No matter who you are, where you hail from, what you call yourself, or what you want me to call you. You know, you're all the internet. You're one big mushy glob like that thing at the end of Akira, and I love you. I'm fine with that.
Can you call me Club Yamaka?
Just look at my stupid fucking Twitter account, internet. Just look at it and just tell me all the things that I said wrong and did wrong, and then I'm gonna pivot to get a bunch of money from whoever doesn't like you. Okay, that's the plan.
God
Okay.
damn it. Okay. Again, that's Cenk and True need to go to HR after this. I want to thank John and Eat for participating in the rhyme game. Thank you guys for participating in the secondary bit.
We uphold tradition here.
You do.
Hey. We do what we do.
Yes, and very well. These new people. You see, the problem is we keep hiring these new people. Ultimately.
Damn interns.
Yeah, that's right. Damn intern.
It's the $50 million, isn't it?
No, I'm not only at peace with that. I'm very proud of you guys for making that decision, not needing me to sign off on that. You know, but at the same time, like, don't spend money out of the company account without telling me again. Even if it was such a generous surprise to me for getting Joe Biden here to sing that lovely song.
The gift that it just keeps going.
Yeah, but like seriously, don't, because you know,
Still out there.
embezzlement is a thing still.
I almost did one, but I couldn't think of a rhyme for folks with an X. Like it
Folks
broke
with an
my
X
brain.
Not having sex.
Oh well, there you go. Yeah.
I thought you just put more money in until it goes away.
Eating tons of checks.
It's I know if you've seen Eminem, you would think that all white people could rap, but it's just not true. Dan can, I can't. It's just how things are.
I can rhyme. I can't rap. When I try to rap, it goes
Wait,
like
what did
crap.
what did True say?
You mean to tell me you're not a street poet?
No, I am not.
A rhyme smith?
Rhymesmith.
I don't happen to be a
flighter?
rhymesmith. No.
A traditional old European rhyme smith.
Yes.
Yonder poetic soul.
Yonder poetic soul. If you piss with me, I'll put my foot up your asshole.
See, there you go. See, that's
the problem with that is that he would immediately start talking about cover. Everybody be like, "Aw."
I really after about two.
God damn it.
Yeah, after about two rhymes, I like all white people have to say the N word, and then I'm just just gonna walk away.
But you're still better at it than I am. I'm terrible at improvising and doing anything live. Like, okay, Dan approached me about being on this, which is live, as I'm sure you know if you're listening to it. And I was like, I could never do that. That's going to be terrible. I'm going to say all these awful things. And the few good things I have to say, I'll say those incorrectly. And I'll be devoured by woke scolds. They'll peel me apart and
The
eat
good
my
news is
intestines.
that is literally our bread and butter.
Mhm.
Yeah, it seems
I
that
mean,
way.
you ended up being completely correct,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
benefited for it.
Yeah, I've
Right.
got it worked out now.
Just pissing off the little scolds.
Oh yeah,
and
we're
then
the
side with everybody else.
Well, somebody had a good thing on the stupid Twitter earlier tonight.
Is that what you
Shout
guys
out
do
to
on Twitter?
whoever you were. I don't recall at the moment, but that they're quiet. That the woke scolds will come one time with their pre-planned thing to say, barely respond to anything. It's because we've reached that continuum. They're afraid to talk. They know that they've created so many lines and so many boundaries that they can't talk about anything. Like even if there's all kind of horrible racisms happening in their own country, they can't even talk about it because they're too worried about using the wrong terminology.
That defeats the whole purpose of dialogue. But okay.
Yeah. Well, their goal isn't to have a dialogue. Their goal is to be dictatorial about things and in a conception that conveniently benefits capital. Isn't that weird?
Dickwaditis.
Yeah. That's what we've got. We've got a situation where if nobody does anything, things just get more capitalism.
Yeah. Huh. How about that? Somebody actually messaged us. Why?
Oh, hi, fascism.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hello, person who messaged us.
Hell yeah, brother.
It's me. It's
Whoa.
me, a weird
I was the
parasocial
person the whole
identity that's
time.
talking to you from the internet. Woo!
Oh, I don't like this. Oh, that's
Oh, it's
it.
not good?
We're getting rid of Twitch.
Okay.
I'm done with it. You people are.
Now
You people
now I
are
gotta go
supposed to
look
send
at
me
it.
hate mail afterwards.
I'm gonna mute the phone so I can look at it without getting the weird feedback. Gotta
Yeah.
go look at it now.
There you
Wait,
go.
this isn't gaming.
Watch now.
Oh shit, there's people in here.
Yeah, holy shit.
Hello, you beautiful people.
Your friend? Who's your friend? I will wish them a happy birthday. Sure. Who is it?
We do a shouts out now.
Yeah, why not? Let's do a
Can I
shout-out.
shout out Little Ray Ray?
Yeah, shout out Little Ray Ray. Hi,
Well, we can state that
hi
up.
to Chance's friend. Chance's friend. I'm gonna fucking butcher this. Andy Trinsky. This is from the Sons of Trier. Happy birthday. They asked us special. They paid us a lot of money for this. This cost them $5,000. Do you understand that now they can't afford rent or food for like a year?
That's how the channel works.
So
To get a shout out, it just bills the shit out of you.
yeah, we got all of your friends' credit card information and have just maxed that shit out immediately.
Andy
Tell you happy
Trensky,
birthday. So if you don't appreciate it, fuck you.
Andy Trensky, would you
Didn't
tell
even-
your friend for me that your friend Chance is even hotter than you?
Hello, I am the Quotep. I would like to tell your friend if he's black, happy birthday. If he's white, get off my shit.
He's got
Look
to
what
say the
you've
White
done
Devil at
to
least
white
once.
people.
He's got to say White Devil at least once.
You white devils have ruined it. Thank you, my black brother.
There it is.
Thank you. Yeah, all right.
Quotep.
No, this is kind of cool. So I'll keep an eye on this while we're going here. But we did have something serious to talk about tonight. So to drain the energy out of the room, John, you have the floor.
Yeah, so oh, lovely. No, I deserve it. I deserve it.
You are definitely going to become our Virgil Texas. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna become what?
You are Virgil Texas, but cooler.
But yeah, way cooler. But you can't get it done without the straight man.
Yeah.
The straight man sets it up, man.
That way the rest of us can be, super straight men.
I feel
Yeah.
like that quote is going to be taken out of context from me now, where it's just going to be me saying, "You can't get it done without a straight man."
Yeah. Hey,
Sorry, bro. Uber beats super.
I covered you. Don't worry. I covered you by referencing the super straight, the S.O.S. That's unrelated.
Oh yeah, that won't
Sure.
cause any problems at all.
I'm sure that was a happy accident only.
That just clicked in my head. Would you believe that?
Yeah, that just clicked in my head too.
I would believe
Really?
that from both of you, yeah.
I know
Right.
exactly. The second I see
Well-
that shit.
Oh, look,
Okay,
the
I take that
Marxists
back.
noticed the bullshit.
Do you think that they did that on purpose? Like I'm always
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm always going back to
I mean, if they
Weave,
didn't do it on purpose, they did it on purpose
Well,
after.
Okay. It's
What is the
only-
guy's name that wrote the fucking thing for Stormfront or whatever the website was that he had, where he wrote the thing
Oof.
about how to post Nazi shit,
Yeah.
and it was some shit like,
Listen, guys. It is
You gotta teach them how to judge you.
just a happy accident if you fail to believe the guy on 4chan who wrote, "I'm doing this on purpose to get the trans people broken away from LGBT Q, so
Oh
that
yeah.
we can divide that movement and then we can wail on the gays even harder. If you believe him, as he is the original post that they've been aping. So yeah, it's complete random accident that it's SS. If unless you believe the paper trail. So
Yo,
Yeah, I
fucking
mean-
soulless garbage human Candace Owens ran with that shit. That shit got pretty high up the fucking flagpole.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the thing
I
that was
feel like
funny
they were
about
just
that
sitting
was
around
like,
and they were like, "It says SS, yeah, do it."
or the thing, I guess that's good about what came of that situation is it appears in this country that that doesn't really work, but that in England it works really well. I can't explain that, like, what are the social dynamics of the various movements in those countries, but like for whatever reason, it's less effective here than it is in the United Kingdom,
That's
as we see with.
let's be real. Everybody in England is basically trans anyway. So like that's the reason they're all like, oh, we got to be transphobic here to try to hide the fact that our men are basically just overgrown, effeminate women.
America is too. They just hate themselves about it.
They lost. How many wars have they lost to a bunch of fucking farmers? They're like us now. We're their Vietnamese farmers, for fuck's sake. Come on, they're losing wars to us. And before we have the nukes, come on, they're all pussies in the fight. George
I thought-
Washington was the manliest one, and that's because he could lift a 10-pound bag without breaking his fucking fingers.
But I thought, wasn't that the war where the big blue man just nuked everybody with his brain rays? I might have been a television show, but I
Yeah.
think it was what happened.
That's you're conflating reality with the Watchmen again.
Oh, Manhattan.
Yeah, you gotta watch on that, man. It gets.
I mean,
all
like.
Oh yeah. The thing we were gonna talk about, I think,
R
that Dan was trying to set up.
What's your Rorschach?
to be fair, what I was setting up was a chance to take a swing at you for the laughs because we needed a big guffaw of laughter. This is Sons of Tree Hair behind the laughter. The 4 jokes we'll tell tonight. That was one of them.
So,
You only
yeah,
get 4.
Yeah, well, given how unfunny we are, I figure 4.
I think we get 5.
You think we can get 5? Jank, you're gonna have to double up on Hitler's then. That way we can get to 5. Because without
Okay.
the Hitlers, we're down to 3.
Well, I mean, if we're talking we're talking joke to Hitler ratio, then there's a balance.
Yeah. No.
There's definitely a balance.
Yeah. Okay.
so
Damage per Hitler.
Speaking of Hitler's,
DPH.
John.
DPH.
yeah. So this week, a large part of the discourse has been anti-Asian racism, and that's because there was a mass shooting at 2, or I believe 3.
3.
It was 3 Asian massage parlors in the Atlanta area. At this point, we don't know the motives completely, and in the sense that we don't have like the full picture. There's still like investigating, and only so much has been given to the public. So on levels, we are speculating, but from the information that's apparent, namely the fact that basically every single victim was an Asian woman,
All but
it's
one.
pretty all but one. Yeah. It's pretty clear, like, that at the very least, at the heart of this is a sort of anti-Asian, not ideology, but systemic racism that does exist in this country. And we wanted to explore some of the aspects of how this manifests, and how do I put this? Just some of the dynamics at play. And the place that I wanted to start is something that no one's talking about, that we've memory hold, but
Sure.
that a lot of the articles that are being written are about how Trump kept calling the the COVID-19 the China virus, and how really creative on his end. And how how he was being really racist toward Chinese people when he was for president, basically throughout his entire presidency.
Somebody was trying to subtly explain to him how you slide that shit across the table to the Chinese with like just imply it or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, you mean like call it the China virus? Let's call it the China virus." Like he just fucking went straight for China.
Yeah, and then like
You know
we
you got to
memory-
deal with them, right?
we all just completely memory hold when Trump and Biden were at, I think it was the first debate, where they just had a competition live on TV to see who could be more racist toward China. And one thing that I want to exemplify here, I mean, there's a lot of examples of this, but when people are racist toward Chinese people, like it's inescapable that they're being racist toward all Asian people when they do that.
Right.
And the reason for that is that in much the same way that many Americans will just say anyone south of the border is a Mexican. We've all heard that. We all like understand that fundamentally. They'll tell. I mean, you know, like it to me, it makes no fucking sense to call a Colombian or a Dominican person Mexican, but like you know, they'll do that. And they'll also, of course, you know,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
they'll call like someone from Zimbabwe, they'll just call them African, which is much in the same vein. So when you
Do they claim Egypt? Do they claim Egypt?
yeah, no.
it's
If
like,
Egypt is part of Africa, is another thing that like there's a lot of other layers to it. That yes, geographically it's part of Africa, but like you want to get into the whole thing, it's like a whole
it gets
thing.
its own special
But
racism.
let's focus on the situation that led to these 8 innocent victims
Yeah.
eating bullets from another fucking white man with a gun who shouldn't have had one.
Yeah,
You know?
and well, I was going to explore just the idea that you know, these people who, you know, no one's talking about the fact that Joe Biden got up there and said, "I'd be tough on China," and you know, you were too easy on them because I would have, you know, done X, Y, and Z measures that were more draconian than what you would have done, or whatever.
Yeah, well, I just, if I may take a moment here, you're very
Mm-hmm.
much right that they conflate China with Asia,
Mhm.
and it's part of the way we linguistically refer to, like, the racism is at the very first level is built into how we refer to other countries, because if we had a problem with the German government, right? Let's think of a German government we might have had some problems with previously, right?
Can't think of
Mhm.
a single one.
You can't. Well, you can't. So
They're so nice.
you're one of the boys from Brazil, so of course you can.
They just want to hang out. They just want to hang out at the beer garden and drink and be nice. They're so nice.
As an aside,
Sure.
Cenk, weren't your family members, it's like your grandfather and shit, wasn't he like a founder of the Argentinian 1952? We just showed up here. We happen to be white. That's unrelated with world events. Wasn't in that? Yeah, okay. Which is cool. Don't get me wrong. That's a really cool party to be part of, and because I don't want you to show me what your family was doing in '46. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Argentina kicks ass though. Isn't that the Pampas? Isn't
Yeah.
that like the hardcore dudes that like, you know, like ride the horses like standing up and like fucking nail shit with a rifle and whatnot?
I think you're right.
I have no idea.
All
The
right.
Pampas.
But just to finish my point really quick, the way we phrase that, we wouldn't say, you know, it's the German government and imply that it is their collaborators doing it. We would just say the Germans. And in much the same way, we refer to not the Mexican government when we have a beef with what's going on in Mexico or the Mexican cartels. Normally, we sometimes say cartels, but we tend to say the Mexicans, right? So the racism's built into the language. So right off the bat, when they're talking about being tough on China, you're not referring to the Communist Party of China. You're referring to all Chinese, and that conflation is intentional.
And I do want to also get across the point that this wasn't just like the particulars. They weren't just debating the particulars of when they should prevent people from flying here from China. This was like a whole policy thing about how we need to, you know, protect our intellectual property. We need to be tough on them with various tariffs and like build up American manufacturing. We don't want their stuff. Their stuff is bad and gross, and our stuff is good. Like inherently, like imbuing these things with like some sort of you know, moral value as a result or whatever. Like just all of these extremely you know, racist laden concepts. And I want to make this also clear because, we're going to make a lot of points tonight that sound like we're, I don't know, caping for Xi Jinping. And like, yes, technically he funds this podcast, but that's only like tangentially. It's through a lot of like shell corporations and whatnot. You don't have to worry about that. It's okay. Him and George Soros fund this podcast, but still, like,
Soros
we're not
plus Huawei.
caping for him. We don't think that like
You
we don't think he
again-
does no wrong or whatever.
Again,
but
point
this
of
is to
order.
explore these
Point of
points.
order. Point of order, please. Eat and I are not part. That's you three. Eat and I totally don't think Xi Jinping did anything wrong. We're both waiting for the glorious Chinese liberation and our part in the great Chinese bureaucracy to administer.
Are you both third world Maoists all of a sudden?
Yeah. Like as of 10
I mean,
minutes.
like, if they show up and they tell me that's what I am now, then yeah, I totally fucking am. Like, on that day, like,
I mean, are you guys really?
I have the flag. I'm ready. You
Are
know,
you guys really? Are they really regulating it, or is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah.
I mean,
Here's the
this
thing.
is what we have.
I have a
These-
selection of flags ready to go for whoever comes and knocks this big pile of shit over. I bought them at that flag store.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
And
here's the thing, man. Eat is a practical third world Maoist. I am an ideological third world Maoist.
So, the other thing that I'd like to just explore rhetorically here is that the very same people who would tell you Biden wasn't being racist by doing that, but Trump was, even though they're debating the same thing that was an inherently racist concept anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
These very same people will also tell you, well, yeah, BDS is anti-Semitic, when they have very similar logical through lines. And the key difference is not difference they explore ideologically. Key difference between BDS and like whatever's going on with the Uyghurs is that Israel is the 51st state. It doesn't work. This is the thing that's anti-Semitic is to suggest that like Israel like controls our government. Like, no, we have complete carte blanche authority over what the fuck they do and how we're funding them, which is part of the reason we need to like, move away from that relationship, right? But that has nothing to do with why they're against BDS, because they think BDS is. They basically think that the rhetoric of BDS is anti-Semitic because you're saying that you want to boycott buying goods from Israel and having an economic relationship with them because you want them to like give human rights to Palestinians and like return some of their land and like give them suffrage, etc. that the non-citizen Palestinians in their territories don't have.
Right.
Like they think that's the equivalent of a white genocide, right? That,
Bro,
like
it's
they
always
really
backfill.
think that. They think that it would destroy the Jewish state. Whereas with China, if that's what China's trying to do with the Uyghurs, like don't they have like autonomy to do that? And like if you like do whataboutism with the Uyghurs, like aren't you really saying that like well, they're really doing the same things in these states to like have carte blanche to do genocide, and anything bad that these states do, which includes spying on us and taking intelligence from us, which Mossad definitely does.
No,
So
I
like,
don't.
like how are they not the same fucking thing in a sense?
How thug life was it when they were just like, you're hypocrites?
I was googling around to find some information about something unrelated, and I found there's a lot of tech companies out there based in Israel that do stuff like root bots out of networks and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I was surprised by the amount of like weird social media combing and security type functions that these companies would perform.
Yeah, and I do want to make the point that like anything that Israel does is essentially with our blessing. And when their companies do things like that and engage in statecraft, it's because we can't legally allow them to do it, but we just let it slide when they do the illegal thing here. And this isn't to say Iran doesn't do it. This isn't to say that China doesn't do it or Russia doesn't do it. It's not to say any of those things, but those countries are not our ward. Israel is, which means that ultimately we're responsible for those kind of things. In any event,
Yeah.
it it just strikes me as ironic that these things are that we perpetuate this by, how do I put this? We perpetuate this dynamic, but won't admit to the unknown knowns, as Zizek would say, when it comes to when it comes to like
Those are
how
my
we engage with
favorites.
these topics.
Yeah, that was an excellent Zizek, by the way. So I want to applaud
Oh,
everybody.
well, thank you.
Very good. Yeah, if we were to like kind of break this down for a moment, the government of Israel is overwhelmingly a right-wing conservative government, meaning it is ostensibly very much tied to the survival of capitalism. The government of China is nominally a communist government, which okay, so it is nominally a hard left government allegedly engaged in destroying capitalism. Practically speaking, they are engaged in winning capitalism because, as it turns out, if all your enemies are in a hyper competition and you're the team that's together and cohesive, you win. And that's what they're in the process of doing. And that pisses off Western capitalists because they don't have that symbiotic relationship with the government. They have a dictatorial relationship with the government that they own, right? So the question of, let's not boil it down to Palestinians and Uyghurs a moment. Let's boil it down to Muslims versus Muslims, right? You can very quickly begin to see how they kind of roll the hierarchy. And if I'm going to be very dark for a moment, they have a preference for Jewish right-wing extremism over Islamic right-wing extremism, to the point where they will just obliterate non-right-wing, just moderate leftist, tepid right-wing conservative Islam. They will just obliterate those people in the quest for 10 members of Hamas, right? They'll just obliterate any number of them. But as it pertains to right-wing extremism versus a nominal left-wing government, suddenly that, again, those 10 Islamic terrorists in the 2 million plus Uyghur population, suddenly they are golden children, and how dare you treat them this way, right? And it is capitalism revealing itself to be in survival mode or in aggression mode yet again. And when capitalism's in aggression mode, what is the first product every time? It's racism. Right?
Hey, I used to work at a cool factory where we made that.
Yeah, exactly. So what they do with the Jews is they hold them up as some sort of exemplars in this case, because they're not nominally, they're actually excruciatingly right wing, right, in Israel. So they uphold them. Were they to have a moderate left government or an actual left government, you would just watch the fucking anti-Semitism fly. Watch the inter-country subterfuge. Watch the assassinations. Watch the U.S. reverse its policy and demand that fucking barrier comes down with Palestine. Because
do you remember in the 90s when like there was somebody who was like, I mean, moderately left by like our standards here in the US, which isn't that left anyway, and they fucking killed him?
Yes.
Like that actually, like because he was gonna like negotiate some land to go back, and they fucking assassinated him. I don't know. It's.
But I thought that was like a random killing that just some rando just dreamed up to go do. Like I thought that because I'm a dumb baby.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
boy.
yeah, so that's what you're seeing. So as a byproduct of it, this overwhelming hatred for anything that isn't capitalist expresses itself in an anti-Chinese sentiment, which is then extended to by our right wing overtly into an anti-Asian sentiment, which has been fomenting for what? Nixon?
Got to go back further.
No, the modern formation, like there was.
Like if I'm like a cowpoke, like if I'm out west and I'm making my fortune. Oh no, where'd all these weird guys come from? They're building the railroad.
I mean,
they're smoking opium.
it was definitely built on by
Yeah.
that sort of shit.
Yeah, you're right.
These weird guys.
If we go back to the expressions of the Orient and things like that, I mean, I think I'm going to hard cap the narrative for the sake of expediency, probably at 1930. But what were we doing in the 30s? We were incarcerating the Japanese because they were those naughty, fifth columnists waiting to happen that Dr. Seuss wrote about. One of the actually withdrawn books from society, right?
Hmm.
And then you roll into the 40s where the Chinese have evicted their hard right wing to Taiwan. We immediately side with Taiwan against the Communist Party of China. And so you have throughout the Cold War, China is an undercurrent of how awful these Chinese people are because, when it came toe to toe military time, they did push us out of North Korea. They did arm Vietnam, and they were successful in arming Vietnam. Any place they had a future interest in, they defended. And that really pisses off the, America, who wants to get those precious, precious slave labor bodies and resources, right?
It really is universal, like you say, because I can reach back to the previous decades, and I can easily hear a guy from down here saying in the same voice that he would now say about Chinese people, saying, "Oh, look at that, made in Taiwan, motherfuckers." Like I can.
Yeah.
It really is interchangeable, like you say.
Yeah, it truly is. And then if you jump through like the 70s, the fear was always the impending demise of American industry at the hands of efficient Japanese people, as if Japanese people were nothing but automata doing nothing but working, sleeping, and fucking. That's all they did. They just produced, no matter what it was, be it labor or humans. They just produced, and they were coming to take all of our jobs. And that, you had capitalism open the Chinese labor markets for their, short-term gain, long-term detriment. And then we started almost immediately the anti-Chinese rhetoric, and that really hasn't ever let up. The most recent incarnation, of course, is what? COVID-19? Really? Like, there's a difference between calling it the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus and calling it China virus, or calling it the bioweapon the Chinese unleashed on us to murder us all. Of course, it's not
I feel
real.
like I really do. I mean, like I'm joking about them trying to get him to be subtle. He probably just started saying China virus day one, but like,
Yeah.
their messaging for that thing was dog shit. Like, Wuhan flu didn't pop up until real late, and Wuhan flu has a killer ring to it. Like, they don't even
Well,
try anymore. Like, they don't even craft racist propaganda like in an artisanal way anymore.
That's True Horror's biggest complaint.
Yeah.
I really just want like fresh sourced racism.
Yeah.
I just
Like, your
I feel like I could
grandpappy
get
and
something more
grandmammy,
natural.
they could craft some real racisms, like the
Yeah.
kind of shit that we heard growing up was fucking incredible compared to this dog shit.
Well,
Low effort, really.
and that's the thing too, and I know it like sounds weird that I'm harping on this, but like calling it the Wuhan virus, if it originated in Wuhan, China, really isn't all that like on its own in a vacuum, right? In a fucking vacuum, that really isn't all that impressive or exciting. Like that's just a logical thing to do because there's a shorthand until you know what the thing is. That's just German measles, Spanish flu, handy fucking name. But the problem with it is we don't exist in a vacuum, right? So
Yeah.
you
Well,
take
the rhetoric has shifted back and forth on that many times now. That I don't completely understand what is the what is the position that you're supposed to have if you like are woke, because then all the variants were okay to call regionally or whatever. And my understanding is just like, well, don't say it with like a tone of voice where you're talking about how like it came from dirty Chinese people.
Well, the
Essentially.
honestly, the woke answer is this: like, yes, honestly, like the true woke answer, right? If you give it a real, sober, genuine analysis, is yes. At the time, without any other context, it was perfectly fine to call it Wuhan virus. The problem is the overarching context is that we had two presidential candidates run on fucking up the Chinese for how they're trying to murder us all and steal all our jobs. And how we need to be tough and crack down on these, and they never say the word. Even Trump was afraid to say the word, but he meant savages. So at that point, we cross over from it being a benign thing. I liken it to this. If I were to say like to John, if I were to say we ladders sure are crafty, that ladders doesn't normally have in context ladders doesn't have a racist overtone until I start calling us all clever ladders. Right?
Yeah, and whenever everyone clearly understands what's being said around it, yeah.
Yeah, we sure are good at banking and wielding our space laser, we ladders. So at that point.
Side note, can I get like a little bit of time on the space laser?
I put you on the list.
Thanks, bud.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're gonna be. You can be on the space laser and you can shoot one thing, but you haven't earned enough to get to the weather machine yet, though.
Yeah.
The
For what
space
that-
laser is really the gift that keeps on giving. Like you can't even go near it without accidentally doing like 10 Hitlers. Like I was trying to post a picture of the space laser as a joke, and I went and got an old frame from a G.I. Joe cartoon, and I posted it. It was like guys fighting, in weird outfits and shooting lasers at each other. And then I looked again after I posted it, and it's the fucking Cobra guys with the fucking snakes on their helmets. And I was, oh fuck, god damn it! Like you can't even go near it.
You just fucked. But yeah, that's what I want to point that out, is that the way language works is there's the language form in vacuum and there's a language form in context. So with that, starting down the rhetoric of China virus or Wuhan virus, again, without any context, that's a logical thing to jump to because it's an easy way to fucking convey that this is that virus that's going around that originated in X geographic location. There's nothing intrinsically racist about geography in that manner. The problem is when you dogpile everything else on, suddenly it becomes really fucking racist. And
Yeah.
that's the problem we're dealing with now, is that 2 years of that functionally, on top of the other 70, is now being translated into not just random acts of violence by somebody like Mark Wahlberg, right? Who did absolutely do an anti-Asian racism in Boston in a very violent form, not fatal, but excruciatingly violent form, with I think very little remorse, to be frank. But now it's expressing itself in a lot of attacks, and unfortunately, the racists are also clever enough to figure out that they mean everybody, right? Because they're attacking Indian people, and if you're just being bigoted against China, you would want the logic would presume you would reserve yourself not to attack Koreans, not to attack the Taiwanese, not to attack Thai, not to attack Vietnamese, Laotian, Filipino, and Cambodian, Indian, Pakistani, and so on. But no, they're very fucking directed. It's the whole fucking swath of Southeast Asia that they're really fucking angry at.
We were also talking for a moment about just how they were being super racist in framing China as an adversary, right? And just framing Asian people in general as adversaries. So, there was a lot in the Post and various other mainstream outlets, like the Times, NPR, etc., about like Asian people's lived experiences in terms of racism, and that some of the top 5 tips to not doing a Hitler against Asians, like those kind of articles, right?
Sure.
And then I peeked and I saw this Post article here. I'll bring it up right now. Biden administration gets a taste of China's wolf warrior diplomacy. And
okay.
so the reason I bring this up is because this term has been going around since 2017 to describe how now China's diplomats and various government spokespeople are being really aggressive and like posting super hard on the internet, and like they're not afraid to like yell at Westerners essentially, and how they're not being docile Asian people. And
Right.
the thing about it is that I did as much digging as I could, and the origin of it is just, as far as I can tell, the origin is ambiguous. It just started as a term that got thrown around in like 2017. There's no patient zero for it that any news source that I could find, and I looked for a good while, that I could find sites. And the thing about it is that it's framed as now all of all the diplomats self-identify as being wolf warriors, like as a joke, essentially.
Who's that one dope ass dude that like is so in on the joke? Like he's a Chinese official that gets on Twitter and basically just like walks right up to like American blue checks and is like, "Fuck you, you suck, stupid ass."
That guy rules.
Fuck you.
Yeah, he posts really hard. That's now what's important is the Chinese government doesn't call it that. They refer to themselves that way as a joke. But the thing about it is that the origin is ambiguous. And my guess, so Wolf Warrior, by the way, is a very popular Rambo-like series that is in China. For what that's worth, that's like a movie series.
Yeah.
My understanding of it is like, that doesn't sound like something, because the thing is like, it became like a popular parlance. Like the Chinese government didn't think of that and start saying that. And
No.
and because of the way
They would
state,
think of way cooler shit than that.
well, the thing about it is that because of the way state media works, they're responsible for Wolf Warrior. So if they wanted to call themselves that, they just would have. My guess is that this originated as like a Trump administration, like, oh, they think they're Wolf Warriors now or some shit. And then the diplomats were like, yeah, we are Wolf Warriors. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about doing this, right? So like, if they want to call themselves that, like, that's okay, because like it's like a self-identified, like, tongue-in-cheek sort of a thing. But when we do it and we unironically say that, yeah, no, they think they're Wolf Warriors or whatever, like, that's the same thing as being like, yeah, those black people really think they're hard ass N-words or something like that. It's the same sort of,
Jesus.
like, it's a dynamic that we don't get to say that. I'm sorry. That's not how that works. We
All
can't,
right.
that's not okay. And I just thought that was really interesting because, like, basically what ended up happening, the context of this is not but about a week ago, we got into a screaming match in Anchorage, Alaska. We decided that we were going to have a diplomatic, meeting in Anchorage because it's like between, it's close between China and the U.S., which is not true if you.
I mean, I heard you can see Russia from there. You can probably see China from there too.
I don't know if we're familiar with this, but Anchorage, Alaska is still technically a part of the United States.
Well, only legally. I mean,
People say that.
I don't know if the American diplomats are familiar with that fact.
People say that. People say that shit about Florida too.
They're
but
not so good. They're not so good with facts.
let's not
Fucking
pretend.
prove it.
Let's not pretend our slice of Siberia is somehow like an actual state. Let's not.
Anyway, the point being here,
Come on.
like, if we start saying that, it'd be like, I don't know, it's like fucking calling Japanese diplomats like samurai warriors. It's just fucking, you do it. You know what I mean? And anyway, basically in Anchorage, Alaska, they had this meeting, and like the U.S. was like, you gotta stop cyber attacking us and like doing all these, like, basically the entire thing was adversarial on our end, and they told us to get fucked, which, I mean, makes sense. And no, they shouldn't be doing that stuff or whatever. But like, the fact of the matter is that like the entire meeting was from the point of view of us just trying to scream at them and prove that we're racist against Chinese people. Biden administration can be just as bad toward China as the Trump administration. That was the point of that meeting, essentially. And we were doing this a week ago. So, and that's one of the things about it that I just find so interesting about this administration is that, and just like how the media portrays this dynamic at all, which is that absolutely no acknowledgement exists of how implicit our treatment of China as an adversary is in anti-Asian racism. Because that's been a thing for a long time, and that's not exclusive to Trump, and that's not just because of COVID. So, like, I don't fucking get, like, why none of that gets acknowledged. Because as far as the liberal sees it, the only anti-Asian things that are in existence are Trump and how he treated China with trade and COVID, and then, like, Asian massage parlor porn, right?
And
Those are the
Dr.
only
Seuss.
ways that this existed, and then everything else is historical, and we can wash our hands of it. We're not responsible for any of it. We're good people, or whatever.
What did the guy say? The latest piece of shit guy. What did he say? That somehow, like, he thought that it was like he was addicted to the services. Like,
Oh,
that it
well,
was-
Okay.
I don't actually give a fuck about that guy.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
Well, I mean,
even
who
giving, like,
does?
form of fucking
Who
Well,
could?
I think it's important to talk about a little bit. I'll sum it up. If you guys don't mind, and then we can
Mhm.
kind of wind the show maybe on a more positive note, or maybe an even more depressing note. I don't know. We'll see how it fucking goes, right? Essentially, what you have in that young man, I can almost guarantee this, right? Because we've seen this script before, like with racial violence, especially this nature. First off, um, let's just blast open some fucking obvious truths, right? Number one, like Asian women are incredibly fetishized and heavily associated with American prostitution, right?
Wait, what?
I know. I'm gonna blow your mind.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's gonna be okay, guys. I just got a hot link from the chat. It's gonna be okay, guys, because Activision Blizzard has now weighed in on their official account, and they want to stop Asian hate. And their official statement says, "At Activision Blizzard, we condemn racism in the strongest possible terms." Our
Are you
mission-
guys like giving money or?
No, they're still just running fucking scared because of that shit that happened between them and China. I mean, no, this is genuine. This is genuine. They genuinely want members of many communities work side by side to deliver our experiences and content. Jesus Christ, they are
Yeah.
such fucking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I that was a hot link from the chat. I had to go and look at that.
No, shout out to Spezard for that. Thank you. If you're wondering what that says, it says thoughts and prayers. What a fucking useless thing, Blizzard.
Yeah, it sure fucking does. It says thoughts and prayers for like 50 sentences.
Yeah.
I can practically see that motherfucker that runs that company is fucking ridiculous face. Just like when they got their pants yanked down.
I guess.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The cat in the chat is like, yeah, the comment section is basically what we just said. Like the entire comment section after that post is what we just said over and over. It's nice, right? People are seeing through it, right? But I think you're dead on, Dan. I think like there's just this incredibly fetishized, sexualized thing that it's just ground in at this point, right? Like, I mean, when was the last time that you Googled any kind of Asian anything and didn't
It was a
really
very
interesting
overt
autocomplete?
fetishization.
Yeah.
It wasn't subtle at all.
No.
Yeah, so like obviously like these people are being
Even the cartoon characters.
especially the cartoon, they're just I mean honestly like I understand that if you were to take any minority group in this country, they're being overly fetishized, right? Sexually by people who just absolutely want them fucking dead or for sexual slavery.
Or really are just so like they can get off better if they think that it's that type of relationship. If they think of themselves as like the white fucking hero conqueror that has traveled to many lands and like sampled all these exotic women.
Yes. That certainly plays a part of it. There's also the part that like because they're
Gentlemen's
beneath
club?
you, and because they're women, they're beneath you. You know that like that interplays into a very sick intersection. You have, on top of that, you have an expectant because they're quote unquote in this country they're seen as one of the well-behaved minorities. So you see them as something that can be objectified and complicit in your perversion and your racism, and they'll just go.
They're not gonna have a riot or nothing. They're not gonna
Some
have
of
a
them are
march.
even basically white.
Yeah, some of them are even basically white, so it's okay with what we're doing with them. They can
Hell, if there was a riot, they'd be on our side. They'd
Right.
go up on the rooftop and yeah. Ugh, blah.
On top of that, and this I've been mulling this over in my head all day when I'm not just making insane rants about the monarchy, right?
No, that was a good one. I don't care. That was a good one.
We'll explain that one later, I promise. Just not tonight. What you have in a lot of these Asian communities, there's like, especially when you take the big two, right, Japan and China, there's an expectation from the nation
There's
of
more
origin.
than two.
There's a couple of Asian countries, I know. I did my homework, thank you. I curbed my racism. There's
probably like two African countries too, right?
there's at least 5. You know,
Curb Your Racism was a really unsuccessful HBO show.
Not as good. Larry David's best work. No.
No.
There is an expectation.
He just couldn't do it.
Yeah. There is an expectation of their diaspora from the nation of origin, that their purpose is simultaneously to functionally spread the nation of origin's hegemony, i.e., spread the culture, and also serve as a culture farm, right? They're expected to be able to find things in that diaspora that they can then extract and make part of the culture proper. So they are used very much in a colonial sense by the nation of origin, even if they are willing diaspora. They're not unwilling diaspora. You know, if you consider unwilling diaspora like, well, it was cheaper to go to school in America, or it was more beneficial politically for me to leave, right? And the case I want to point to is actually the Japanese treat mochi is a Californian Japanese invention. But sure as shit, Japan has ripped that back to the homeland, and that's a Japanese thing now. You can't have that. But also, you know, you
Is that
should
ice
definitely be buying
cream?
it. It's the ice cream in the rice
Mochi?
ball.
I
Yeah.
thought they've had like
Oh, yeah,
glutinous
yeah.
rice treats for a while.
It's good.
Mochi was invented, if I remember correctly, it's about 1940, 1950 in Little Tokyo in California.
There's like a whole ceremony to it, though. No. That's like an actual thing.
Yeah.
I think you might be wrong on this one.
No, I looked it up several times.
It's a traditional food around Japanese New Year.
It is now, because again, they are part of the Japanese diaspora, but it's been brought back, and specifically the ice cream form, where you put the ice cream in it and wrap it up.
Oh yeah, that's obviously bullshit because
Yeah.
that wasn't a thing for forever. But mochi just refers to like the glutinous rice stuff, which has been eaten in Japan for fucking centuries.
Yeah, but I'm talking about mochi ice cream specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's a different thing.
right. But I want to be very clear. That was something that even like after they had ice cream, they're like, oh, fucking, why would we mix those two things? But when they did it and it sold, Japan immediately exported it back and said, like, yeah, it's just Japanese shit. We just do this all the time. What the fuck are you talking about?
I've been doing this with you guys for like more than a few months now, I think, and I've only just now gotten to the point to where when we're having a pedantic discussion about something really specific that I don't just laugh the whole time like I'm watching like a BBC show or something.
Yeah.
Like, no, look, this is funny. This is comedy over there. These guys are just going to keep being pedantic to each other.
This
Like
is
I'm
what we do.
explaining it.
Hey guys, exotic.
But that's my point. So they're always the counterpoint to that, and the nation of origin absolutely does not give a flying fuck because they're diaspora, is
Yeah.
that they are that notion that Asians are all a fifth column waiting to happen has been lingering in the American mind since the 1930s. So that's
Yeah.
always in the background. You can't trust them, right?
Yeah. Even though it'll be a guy down here that loves the fucking hibachi joint. Hey man, you tried them takoyakis, man? You tried them octopus balls? Holy shit. Them motherfuckers are gonna get us one day, but them octopus balls, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's in these octopus balls.
I don't know what's in them, man, but this octopus ice cream sure is tasty.
No, it's a takoyaki. It ain't poison. You can eat it. Go on.
Yeah, it's a taco
Don't-
yucky, right?
Get you
good.
some takoyakis.
Yeah, taco yuckies. Yeah, I had them. Yeah, they're damn good. I don't know why they call them yucky. That's weird, but yeah, you know, they really they do abstract this shit back, right? And then that, like I said, that fifth column mentality is always there. So you get this image that they're on a default, because of their subservience, right? They're subservient because they're trying to infiltrate, and they're trying to sexually infiltrate, which is part of the great replacement theory. You see where I'm going with this? Where this guy's thinking?
Yep. There's no right way that anybody could act to where they wouldn't somehow be trying to white genocide us.
And now,
Gross.
and he's going to church in Atlanta. And do you want to guess how fucking white that church is?
Jesus.
Anybody want to guess?
It's probably like in a little enclave. It's the one
White
they were all driven to.
Yeah, white poop. Yeah. So you have these going on in this kid's head, and then on top of that, you've given him access to firearms. You've given him a chance to play with firearms like they're toys. So he has zero respect for actually holding a weapon and being a man about it. And then on top of that, you have somebody who's sexually frustrated. And unfortunately, a lot of violence in America is driven by the sex drive. So now you have
Like people started out like saying like if you never get laid or whatever, you're gonna fucking go on and mash it. But as time passed, it became more and more clear that it was only a small subsection of motherfuckers who ain't getting laid that we're gonna go do. And you can now see the reasons that they ain't getting laid.
Yeah.
It's because they fucking suck. It was never people that were asexual or anything like that. It was always just fucking assholes.
Yeah, and I can't make any claims that he was part of some like.
What
some
do you mean?
planned
There's
group.
consequences to being an asshole.
Yeah.
There ought to be consequences. In this country, it's up in the air. Depends on what kind of asshole. Depends on who busts you for being an asshole. Let's be
Yeah.
real. And I can't make the claim that this guy was part of some like fucking Adam Waffle bullshit. He was part of the KKK. I can't. I don't know that, but I can tell you that if he's driven to acts of violence against women who are just probably just giving out fucking massages.
Did he catch a dirt nap at the end of this thing, or did they
No.
take him in? Because
Oh, he's
if he's
alive.
alive, well, he'll definitely be part of the fucking Hitler
Should we at
Youth
least get a
pretty soon.
massage?
Then
I feel like he should have got a massage.
he'll, fucking Rittenhouse's lawyer will call him up and be like, "Look, this has been going great for me. I got this fucking grift I'm on. Do you want to be in on this?" He'll definitely be one of them soon.
I want to make one last thing very, very clear here, right? These 8 people, these mostly women, but also men, but these 8 people had to die because when this kid woke up that morning, he had a binary decision to make. Honestly, he could decide to just buy a fucking hooker and relieve some fucking stress, or he can go out and fucking murder Asian women. And if somebody else caught the bullet along the way, who gives a fuck? Because I have a statement to make against society. And he made a conscious decision. Now, all that shit was informing it, but it doesn't excuse it. Just because I can explain why this awful thing happened, right? That in no way excuses what this murderer did. Because he was because between the option of buying a hooker and committing mass murder, he fucked up and made the wrong decision. And like to fuck up in that binary, you have to be an incredibly fucking awful person. That's a very simple binary to make. It's always hooker. You always pick hooker. Should I go murder random people or hooker? It's hooker. And not murder hooker, mind you. Just go bang the hooker. Feel
Go on
better
Charlie
about
Sheen
yourself.
too.
Pay, you know what, buddy? Pay a little extra. Have her tell you she thinks you're cool. She doesn't, but fuck it. Just, everything else in this fucking society is simulacra. So fucking why not that? Or
Yeah, definitely.
maybe take a fucking shower and go hang out where people hang out, like in a park or some shit. Strike up a
All right,
conversation.
Stop Chad-splaining, okay? That's what you're doing at the moment.
Got my ass. All right, I'll stop. But that
If you keep your perfect jawline and your flexy pectoral muscles to yourself, Chad.
I look right now, unfortunately, I look like Shrek because I'm all shaved, hair and beard. So I don't know if Chad's splaining really applies, but all right, I'll take it.
Okay,
Nobody can see us. You're Chad as fuck. You're a hot motherfucker. You're all.
Listen,
So
I'm a communist. We have a strict policy of being honest. I can't lie about that. Yeah, so that's the situation we're dealing with, and I guarantee you, when you cut through all the bullshit in the red, like in all the fucking games, like that's what's really good. Like that's the dynamic at play. This objective culture of violence exists and has always existed. And what they could easily try to do is like, well, this kid played violent video games. This kid watched violent movies, and those things, of course, he did because he was
because
already
everybody
primed.
has.
Yeah,
Everyone does.
because. Yeah, that's a cultural expression of the rape and violence culture we live in. Everybody does that. That's not an explanation. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it. It's the other shit that he's consuming and his material conditions. When you combine the system, the material conditions, and you combine the objective attitudes that Asians are subservient and Asians are property, and especially their women are just whores, right? Waiting to please a fucking conquering white man. And you combine it with his own material sexual frustration, you're going to produce a violent outcome. The fact that he watched the violent movie or the violent video game has nothing to do with it. Of course he fucking did.
I don't know what it could have been.
I'm a comedian and I like The Simpsons. The Simpsons doesn't make me funny. It's a representation of the two. I'm a philosopher and I read fucking philosophy. The philosophy doesn't make me a philosopher. That's what philosophers do. It's the other shit that made me, it's the other material conditions that make me want to be a philosopher. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the resolution to that we're always missing. We always try to explain it away with like, oh, well, like that asshole. Well, he had a bad day. Yeah, no shit he had a bad day. Because when he had a simple fucking choice in front of him, he fucked that up. And that fuck up didn't cost him shit, really. It cost 8 other people their lives. Dickless fucking wonder. You
Yeah,
know,
he's gonna go right into that fucking little cottage industry of fucking. Even George Zimmerman still sits around and signs fucking Skittles wrappers, right?
oh my god, fucking impotence is a fucking profession.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Just because he was. I swear to God, I suspect, and this is entirely an allegation, I think George Zimmerman is just a pedophile who's horny for black kids. And I know I said the word, but I know I said the word.
Yeah, God damn it.
That's what I think deep down. I think that's what it was, and he took his frustrations out on that poor fucking teenager.
There was a guy at my last horrible job that every time somebody would have their hoodie up, he would be like, "Oh, you better put your hoodie down. You know what fucking happened?" Like, what the fuck, man? Like the Zimmerman thing became this incredibly casual thing to fucking talk about.
Yeah.
Like I think it was a preview of how bad things were gonna get. I mean, like the way they talk about the Zimmerman thing is several orders of magnitude removed from the way they talked about the Rittenhouse thing the week that happened, which was, a fucking cosmic obscenity. By that point, they were emboldened by Trump and they were ready to just let them fucking loose, But I was still shocked, and this was recently, this was only a couple of, maybe 1 year or so ago when I still worked with this miserable motherfucker.
Yeah.
The guy would walk around and it was dress code to not have your hoodie up, and he would, hey, you better fucking, you ain't supposed to do that. You never know what might happen. Just a fucking repugnant big fucking turnip just rolling around saying that shit. And I used to think, I wonder if somebody could sue him for that, but it just feeds right back into everything else, right? Like, it's like, if somebody did sue him for that, he could go fucking post about it on Facebook, and then here comes Rittenhouse's same fucking lawyer, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's the way that the parties are set up right now. That's the fucking kind of feedback we'd be getting. Again, like, it has a real cost. These 8 people are gone and nowhere near deserve to be. I'll be on, again, like, this kid was just like, oh, look, these Asian whores are out there. There is no evidence that I've seen that these women were engaged in any kind of prostitution. They're just straight up massage therapists, as far as I know. And even if they were sex workers, that's fucking irrelevant. That means you really super fucked up because you choose to shoot them instead of pay them money for sex. Like, how fucking...
If you're super nice when you go shopping, you could probably get a handy anywhere if you're super nice when you go shopping.
Yeah.
Jesus,
I get handies all
like,
the time.
I mean, right? I mean, you just
literally, Cenk is taller and goofier looking than I am, as looking like Shrek, and yet he just walks down the street and people are just jerking him off all day.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's actually like disruptive, but I just have to keep being nice. It's like a fundamental misunderstanding, I guess.
Yeah. It's, well, how
we spent the rest of the.
How you doing, Mr.
We spent
Wilson?
the rest-
Pretty good there, buddy. Oh, you're doing it. Okay. Well, fucking no, I'm gonna be late. No, it's fine. Finish.
We had to spend the rest of the show's budget on getting him all those pairs of the special shorts. You
Yeah.
know, it's just gotta be ready.
Oh, is that where the
I
other
do
25 million
appreciate
went?
the shorts.
Yeah.
Yep.
25 million in shorts. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I thought it was a little short on the budget too, but it's what we had.
Thank you.
It's that company
I
that makes
agree.
the really good tactical shorts that the Trump EPA guy used to buy. It's the tactical shorts.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
then you got them
tactical.
for a steal, actually.
Are they tactical?
They're extremely tactical.
These are extreme tactical hand job pants. Just if you're an operator,
Hand job pants.
if you're an operator,
not-
you'll be jerking off dicks in no time.
There's no buttons or zippers. You just have like a little trigger in your hand at all times that just blows it right off of there like a parachute deploying.
It's like the door being ripped off the fucking space.
Yeah.
Just being shot out. You just constantly whack people in the fucking thigh with your fucking. And you're like,
You can have it set up for your headset.
$10,000 to replace.
You don't even need the little trigger with your hand. You can just you can have it wired to your Bluetooth and you just yell deploy. And then it just-
Alpha Team Bravo, go! Yeah. Holy fuck. God, it's been a bad week.
yeah.
Every week's bad. Why do I worry that it's a bad week? It's fuck it.
You really should stop worrying because it's just like, old Irish Joe says, I mean, the racism is going to go away now. Our national nightmare is over. and everything's going to go back to normal. Politics is going to be boring again. All the racism is going to go away. You know, it's good now. It's good.
All good now.
Nothing to
Jesus
see
Christ.
here. Move along.
That is a major part of the problem, isn't it? That the way racism functions is there is the overt, obvious racism of the "don't be a pussy" party, the Republicans. It's just out there. It's just I don't know why I can't go into a nursery and scream get the ching chong babies out of here, right? There's that element to it. And then there's the covert form of racism that's practiced by the Democrats, which is like, well, it would be terrible and racist to get rid of them. They're our highest performing members of society. All others are inferior to them, right?
Yeah.
We're going to need them to survive the Martian trip or whatever.
I'll have you know I've a concert to attend this weekend, and without the first violin chair, it will be a disaster. You cannot deport him. Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Another way I could sum it up is that the old folks' home, you can tell the right wingers because they're screaming about the Puerto Rican orderly, and you can tell the Democrats, the extensive left wingers, and I'm going to use that for kind of loosely for a moment, because they're the ones who were like, oh, that guy's being racist, but when that Puerto Rican orderly leaves the room, they check their fucking money.
I mean, like, yeah.
And then they use the excuse like, well, any orderly could steal from me, right? But you never do that with the white orderlies.
And to go back to what you said about the objectification, I'm pretty sure that both old men, maybe some old women too. I don't know. But yeah, both are probably really, really into the visits they get from their Puerto Rican orderly.
Yeah.
I mean, like really, like no shade, but like just like be honest about it. Like Puerto Rican motherfuckers are good looking. I mean, that's what's up.
Very possible. I mean, they're gonna fetishize them, but then they're absolutely gonna be fucking like just incredibly racist about it. The difference is whether or not it is aggressive. It's just overt racism, i.e., objective racism, or if it's systemic racism. And there is a slight difference because any individual, you take any pairing of monads, you can produce umpteen number of bigotries objectively in the moment that don't really, they hurt, but they don't really do any sustained damage. But if you want to see systemic fucking bigotry, wait until a fucking meritocracy hierarchical asshole like Biden gets into power and says something like poor kids are almost as smart as white kids.
Almost.
Just
yeah, that's it. That's his right to rule, isn't it? Is his insurmountable merit.
Congrats, you're king of a pile of shits.
Yep, his gritty backstory, his whole fake fucking Irish thing that they whipped out at the last second.
Yeah. Even if he was Irish, the experience he has as compared to indentured servitude, it's fucking night and day. He was the willing bagman for capital for, God, how many years? How many racist things did he pump along, or how many things did he pump along to damage poor people that, if they were disproportionately against other races, not a fuck given.
No, none whatsoever. I mean, even just regular ass like non-racially targeted crime shit was just insane. Like, okay, the one bill in the 90s, for a second we were having some fun, we were partying, we were just throwing parties where the fuck ever, and then that bill made it where you could say that if somebody's doing dope at this warehouse party, that's a crack house. Knock the motherfucker over. Bring a fucking bulldozer. I mean that. It didn't result in anything that I was attending being bulldozed while we were partying, but the cops started swarming the motherfuckers way worse than they ever had before. It came out bad for a lot of people that weren't as good at. We're just as sneaky as me, just as bad of a person as me. Just honest, happy people that have been out there partying weekend after weekend and weren't expecting the fucking crackdown. They got fucked.
Yeah. It's fucking surreal. And what we what we tend to see now, right, is we're seeing certainly a lot of interest at the ground level in like new party formations and new party alliances. I It's going to be who flinches first. Because
Yeah.
whoever flinches first wins. And when I say flinch here, I suppose I mean rips that band-aid off. And I
Yeah.
don't mean in the short term. The short term, whoever rips that band-aid off first is going to be a big fucking loser.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, just like Ross Perot, just like they're gonna summon up the fucking dead specters of every failed fucking third party attempt throughout American history.
They already do. But if you were to look at the formations of the left and the formations of the right, whichever one rips that band-aid off first, mark my fucking words on this, whoever rips that band-aid off first and bucks the traditional party will not only kill that party, but replace it with a new thing that is fucking energized and is fed from ground energy, not fed from capital. Because at that point, capital will force itself into the remaining party and really rip off the fucking veneer as to what's going on.
Right. It'll need a place to attack them from. It'll need to go ahead and set up right wherever their force is being directed. It'll need to set up there, and it'll be the last city on the hill. As what's his name? Oh God, the city on the hill. I
The
can't.
shining
Reagan, right?
city on the hill is Regani.
Yeah, the shining city on the hill. Ugh.
Yeah.
That'll be what they'll do. They'll go get in the shining city and sit up there and just fucking take pot shots until the whole thing fucking finally runs out of resources.
It'll turn bloody if that happens. I mean, if that formation happens, that's going to lead to blood, and that is an inevitability at this point. I'm sorry. I'm not wishing it, but there is no point in lying, because how that formation plays out, you will force capitalism, which is now all in the northern formation, as if we go back to the terms of 1840 or 50, and you will have the non-capital formation, in this case representing the South. And if it happens on the right, it's going to play out very eerily like the Confederacy. If it happens on the left, it's going to take a beating and it's going to be fucking bloody. And the difference will be who starts that fight.
Yeah.
Ultimately, capitalism is not interested in throwing fists at the people who have always, no matter what they, even when they believe they're acting in an anti-capitalist manner, write it off as anti-communist and then continue to back capitalism full-throated and full-heartedly.
Yeah, and you can't damage your human capital stock. You need them hale and hearty to get into that racism factory and make them fucking cars and TVs and bullshit.
Right, and they happily will. They will happily full-throated spout anti-capitalist rhetoric and then continuing serving capitalism. So what will happen is if it's the right who forms that party, the right will throw the first punch. Because they already did. They already
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah, we've seen that motherfucker.
And
his new iterations. Yeah, he was the first blow, and then the attempts to continue with the combo, or motherfuckers like Taylor Green, your Bobert. Yeah. It's just these incredibly insulting personas, these incredibly insulting characters.
Yeah, they've already done it. So those punches are going to land until capitalism has had a fucking enough of these miscreants misbehaving. And if that's the case, we end up with Civil War V2, however that actually plays out violence-wise, and then you end up right back in the same fucking cycle. And
beginning at least? Hopefully?
Can we?
Not the beginning. We won't have the actual in-chain slaves at that point, thankfully, but you're right back where you started in 1870. With an interest in just putting all this dark stuff behind us, which is really just code for we'll punt this fucking 100 years from now. If, and this is where I'm hopeful, if it happens on the left, they will strike first, but there's a real chance that having $90 billion worth of stock cumulatively is irrelevant when it comes time to throw hands.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
chance at that because numbers beat fictional fucking currency values.
Yeah, because we did hit this on our one where we had delved into somewhat the financialization of the capital. Yes,
Yeah.
is that none of that shit actually exists. So as soon as something popped off, it wouldn't really be. You couldn't make it into guns for damn sure.
Right. You can't take a stock certificate and turn it into guns because it's not fucking. It's a representation of held wealth rather than an actual commodity form that you can exchange or an exchange value form. You can exchange it for other similar values in the form of stock or bonds or what have you, but you can't really turn that into money very easily. It takes a long time, and it can be interrupted. So, I guess what I'm saying is if you're on the right, feel free to not have babies and feel free to continue being Republicans. That'll be fine. And if you're on the left, start having some babies, start getting some basic cardio in, start, maybe watching Red Dawn and
Drink some water.
drink your water. Remember to have your salt pills on hand. That way you don't overheat because it's going to get fucking hot. You might want to get, maybe learn about a firearm. I don't care what kind. And I'm not saying do anything, but I'm just telling you they are coming for us. And the worst part about it is you've all heard, and I'm sure John especially, you've heard this one, right? That only Nixon can go to China, right?
I've heard that term, yeah.
Yeah, you know what that means, right?
Was it that you needed like a strong man to deal with Chinese?
No, it means only the most logical negation can do the thing. Because the people who would most likely do it can't do it because they're likely to do it. So you need the negation to do it.
Isn't that the trip where what is it? He ends up chilling with the wife, watching the revolutionary plays the whole time.
Yeah.
The old man was already on his deathbed at that point.
Right. No, you got it. Yeah, he was fucking Mao's wife. His fucking Mao's widow. That holds true in
Sons
both
of Trier fan fiction episode 1 coming soon.
Yeah.
Owen isn't erotic.
Yeah. Well,
I came here for business, but I've become enthralled by you, madam.
there is a logical that logic actually holds true in both directions because who was the one who could cut welfare?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was Clinton.
It was Clinton because he is the negation. He should be the one who's most against welfare
It's
reform.
all right. I'm not doing nothing bad. It's okay.
What?
You did it. I'm a Democrat and everything. I would never do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see ya. Yeah.
That's so. If you look at the formation around the Capitol right now, where the security state is in full fucking force for really not much, you can go find these people. You can easily just go find these white nationalists and arrest them. The internet is riddled with their death threats. You don't actually need to fortify the Capitol. You can get aggressive. You have the FBI, you have state and local police, you have the military, you have federal marshals.
Yeah, the global server load for all of the internet now is probably at least 60-65% just raw death threats.
Yes.
Just in video form and text form, just gigs and gigs and terabytes and of just death threats, really, veiled or overt.
And the NSA could easily just hunt these people down very easily, just go arrest them on that premise alone and detain them. And you have all sorts of black sites around the world if you wanted to handle this problem. But you don't because, of course, again, these are the most ardent supporters of capitals and they're the most fervent adherents. Kind of looks bad if you kick them in the teeth, right?
Yeah.
It looks like shit, But what Biden has now set up is just like with Obama with those fucking drones. You have now made it permissible for a right-winger to lock down any American city with the force of the military to handle any problems because Biden did it.
Yeah.
And that's the scary precedence that's been set in that vein of Nixon can go to China, Clinton can do welfare reform, Obama can enable autonomous kill machines to assassinate people at fucking Afghan weddings. And now Biden has set up the precedent that it is perfectly fine to launch the military for the purpose of locking down and controlling an American city.
Yeah.
So their vision of the future is already apparently very bleak, very bloody, and very authoritarian. And
me Aunt Gertie
thank
used
you.
to call it the old switcheroo. The old switcheroo. You hold your hand out with a delicious treat, a delicious candy, and then in the other hand you got your shillelagh.
That's it. But yeah, so
All right.
yeah, so that's what the that's really where this leads now. If Biden's using if Biden is feeding, and he has, let's be real, he has fed anti-Asian sentiment that has now led to 8 people dying. It's not all his fault, but he has participated in it, in the ritual. He by his action, this is how that works. With his actions, he has made it permissible. Just like Trump made it permissible to really get bloody on Medicare for all because he's a fucking moron. And when he ran the first time, he said, "Oh yeah, we got to do it like the Australians."
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
dumb motherfucker made it permissible to be on the right and okay with Medicare for all. So now that's a real fucking problem for the Democrats, who will invariably have to do the thing eventually.
Him trying to even go near healthcare is pretty much 1-to-1 to what happened the time he tried to fuck Stormy Daniels. Like it's 1-to-1.
Bull China shop.
It's like he
No
lined
pun
up something that, he had already basically made sure would happen, and yet in my heart of hearts, I can't believe for even a moment that he successfully intercoursed with that woman.
Not in any way that we would count intercourse.
Not like human intercourse.
He said he
How much did he pay her?
like $100,000.
Yeah,
More than sex
that'll
costs.
do it.
That's one of those situations where Trump got some belly button and talked about slamming that sweet puss.
Yeah, there it is. That's it. And it's exactly 1-to-1 with how he handled healthcare. It just years of rhetoric leading up to the repeal of Obamacare and the replacement with some kind of, conservative nightmare. And then when it was time to do it, whoops, this never happens, I promise. Like, I mean, it's 1-to-1.
Yeah. So I think that's the final takeaway of all this. You're going to see a lot more. You're going to have to do a lot more reading between the lines, unfortunately, to figure out where the bigotry lies now. And we are no closer to having a genuine third-party option unless people are willing to lose in the short term, because the long term is grim. But we're going to have to rip that Band-Aid off, or the right will do it for us, and we're going to have real fucking problems.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. It can't be sports.
Okay.
It can't always be like blue no matter who or whatever. It can't be sports.
Yeah. So, with that, this was the Sons of Trier live stream. I am, again, Dan Cohen. I was joined by John Sinclair.
Sir, the human yarmulke club.
That's right. EattheRich.
Club yarmulke.
Cenk Engels.
Have a good night, America.
And the True Horror.
I love ya, viewers. I love ya, listeners. Old Uncle Joe, old Grandpappy President Joe, whoever I am, I love ya. I love ya, weans.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
All right. Last couple things I want to touch on. It's all housekeeping stuff, guys. I'm, of course, at KetzerN on Twitter. You can follow me. I will happily send you all the likes, feels, and comments that you want. I really am a whore for that. At TrueHorror69, exact same way. You can get a 2-for-1 special. You follow us both, you get us both back. You have access to our audience, and you can just help us grow our little show here. It'll be fun. You can also check us out on Twitch TV/Sons of Trier. You can check us out at youtube.com. That's Sons of Trier Official. You drop that in your search bar. Go ahead and go there. You can like our shit. You can subscribe. Sometimes I bother to do what I promise to do and drop remixes. I do occasionally. You can.
He's underselling those folks. Those are good.
They're good, but I'm lazy.
Good remixes.
Yeah, I'm lazy, and I'm not very musically inclined, so thank you for that. And we also drop content, so much content, on Facebook at facebook.com/SOTRIERCAST, So Trier Cast. We could not get Sons of Trier podcast for some reason because Facebook fucked us. But
I bought it.